Hey, I'm Tom Sinclair. Welcome to Streaming Idiots. I am your chief idiot today, and I know I'm your chief idiot because I'm the one that's screwing up all the stuff. But part of the theme of this show is that I get to make the mistakes in streaming so that you don't have to. I'm going to be the Thomas Edison of 1,000 tries on the light bulb, and you get to be the Thomas Edison that does it right the first time. I'm going to tell you a bunch of ways not to do it. So we were having a nice little discussion in the chat before the show about the TJ Max, which was the junction temperature for CPUs. So if you want to be a part of that kind of discussion, come join us live for the show, because these guys will talk about all sorts of stuff. And it's okay. You're not trolling the show to talk about different stuff. And if you do, we'll let you know. We'll spank you on the hand. The other purpose of this show is to show you some of the cool stuff that's going on in the world of live streaming. And part of the problem is we still can't figure out what to call it. Is it webcasting? Is it video podcasting? Is it internet broadcasting? Is it, what is it? Live streaming. It's going by lots and lots of names, and I don't think there really is one name television. When you say television, everybody knows what you're talking about. When you say live stream, well, maybe not. But we're going to tell you all about it, and I'm really excited for today's show, not only for today's show, but for upcoming shows, because we've got so much cool stuff going on. You can see over my shoulder, we've got some products sitting here that we need to get to review. We're reviewing one as we speak right now. I'll tell you about that one in just a minute. We've had some great news yesterday and today. One is that, I don't know if you remember Ted Kashmirzak with Tally Lights, came on the show a while back and talked about his Tally Lights. He came on the VidBlaster Guy show and talked about Tally Lights because his Tally Lights worked with VidBlaster. And they work with Wirecast, and they work with TriCaster, and they work with lots of other equipment. But they haven't been working until today with vMix. And so he just sent me a note that he has worked with Martin Sinclair, the developer of vMix, to make some drivers that will work with his system. And his system is really easy to use. I mean, you plug in essentially you're plugging in a USB hub, and it's not really, it's a hub that Ted designed. And then plugging into the side of that are just a bunch of audio cables. And the audio cables go to a light that looks like this, and it flashes when you select that camera. It couldn't be simpler and easier to use. And my apologies to Ted. We've been promising him we would put those in our store, and now that they work with VidBlaster and vMix, we'll do that. Excuse me. Goodness gracious, sorry about that. Don't know what's in the air. I'm not allergic to Tally Lights, I promise. So look for that coming up in our Eastern Shore Broadcasting store very soon. The Tally Lights that now work with vMix. Congratulations, Ted. That's a great accomplishment. He'd been waiting for Martin to get back from the States, because Martin was here for what was it, the NAB show, and then there was another show in California, another show in New York, another show in Orlando, and then finally, after he was in the U.S. for like 4 or 5 weeks, and then finally got to go home to Australia, and now has been able to put this together. So congratulations to vMix, and congratulations to Ted at Tally Lights. It's tally-lights.com if you're looking for them. The other news is that vMix has released, or I guess we would call it a pre-release, well, whatever. Version 16 is out in beta, and it's not for the faint of heart, according to the vMix website. But there are some great new features in that as vMix tries to stay ahead of the game, or at least pick up speed on some of the other competitors like TriCaster and Wirecast and VidBlaster. Some of the interesting things, I think, is that vMix now supports MIDI control, MIDI, that music interface. So you can get your Yamaha keyboard out and plug it into your PC and control vMix with it. And so, the white keys will be all your cameras, and the black key, no, just teasing. But I guess you could do that if you wanted to. So that's going to be fun to play with. And what that means is, excuse me just a second. I'm caught up in a cable, but I just had this brainstorm. That means that devices like this, which is the Korg Nano Control, which can be set up as a MIDI device, can now control vMix. And so that's going to be really cool. And this one's got sliders and buttons and knobs and all sorts of things on it that will allow you to control all sorts of functions. The other thing that vMix has already been able to control with is the Contour Shuttle Pro V2. And we'll be reviewing this with vMix here in a couple of weeks. Coming up next week, we will be reviewing the StarTech PEX USB 3S44V, which is a 4-port PCIe USB 3 card. The idea behind that is that it's a poor man's 4-port capture card, at least we think. We haven't tested it like that. So I want to hook up 4 webcams to it and then be able to switch webcams. And the fact that the card is going to do some of the processing may mean that 4 webcams just doesn't kill your CPU. That's part of the problem with plugging a bunch of webcams is there, I had one situation where the Logitech webcams were using like 10 or 15% of CPU each. Well, you get 3 of those in there, and now you're up to 40% of your CPU is being used by webcams. That's no good. Also, the AOC portable USB monitor was talked about last week in chat room. I found it on sale at Amazon for $79 with Prime shipping for free. I got it really quickly, and I look forward to reviewing that. The idea of, how does that fit into what we're doing? Well, a bunch of times out in the field doing sports broadcasting, it would have been very handy to have had an extra monitor to put over there for the announcer guys so they could see the instant replay. And, carrying a big, bulky monitor with a stand and the cord and the cables and all that stuff, it's just one more thing that I didn't want to do. But apparently this is the size of like an iPad or something. So, you take it over there, prop it up, and away they go. And it only plugs in USB. I think plugs in 2 USBs, one for power and one for signal. So, yeah, Tommy is confirming that in the chat room. So that's going to be fun to look at, and that'll be coming up too in the future. The other thing is that we have just ordered, I won't say ordered, we have borrowed, we have been approved for a loan. That's what it is. We have been approved for a loan of several Magewell devices. I think a USB 3 dongle and a box that splits out into multiple captures, plugs into USB 3. Anyway, they are on the way. They're going to be here tomorrow. And so we'll be reviewing those. We'll probably do some reviews on them and put them on tape and then record them, and then play them as part of the shows here in the upcoming weeks because we have to get them back to Magewell pretty quickly. So we'll play with them, we'll make some recordings with them, and then we'll share that information with you, kind of not all at once. I mean, we don't want to overload you. You can only have but so much Magewell at one time. But that is our way of announcing that we are now authorized to distribute Magewell products. And so we'll be putting those in our store at Eastern Shore Broadcasting really soon. And today, sorry, I got distracted by the chat room. These guys in the chat room, they're always trying to distract. They're saying things like your shoe's untied, your fly's down, and I fall for it every time. Anyway, today well, let me go back to last week. Last week we were using the AJA Video Systems Kona 4 card, which is a 4-port, super duper high-end broadcasting capture card, and it was really sweet. And Eric Norrell, my good buddy over there at AJA, had sent that down to me and sent me some mini converters so that I could convert my HDMI over to SDI and be picked up by that card. And we had tons of fun with it. I've got 3 Canon Vixias in the studio. They're not high-end. They're low-end capture cards. I mean, low-end cams. But the capture card made them look really, really good. But, alas, all good things come to an end, and they wanted their card and their mini converters back because they were just on loan. So we shipped them up, sent them back. But we have, passing through with us right now, a Magewell card. I'm testing it, and I'm going to have to ship it off. But it's the Magewell 4-port SDI capture card. So we kind of pulled out one SDI card and we put another SDI card back in. It's the XI400 DE-SDI. And it's pretty slick. I mean, that's what we're using right now. The camera is outputting 1080 p, I think, 1080p 30 frames a second, and the card is accepting that and passing that through. In this case, today we're broadcasting with vMix, and so we've got a pretty darn good picture. We're really pleased with that. I wish I had more HDMI to SDI mini converters so that I could load up this card with 3 or 4 cameras and see how it did and see whether it I mean, it's passing the video through uncompressed. So, the question, I guess, is a combination of what the card can do and what the PC can do. The card supposedly will do 4 channels of 1080p at 60 frames a second. That's right, 4 channels, 1080p, 60 frames a second. That's pretty stout. So if that is the case and it'll do that, then this is going to be a great little card. It's SDI, which means it's got that BNC dongle on it. So when you plug a cable to it, it doesn't come disconnected. I don't think I would have chosen this for my studio because of the need for me to do mini converters from HDMI to SDI. But if I were to put together a sports streaming rig, I think an SDI connection, if I'm going high definition, I think an SDI connection would be what I wanted to do. BNC to SDI connection, so that I've got a good firm cable connection every time. I can't tell you the number of times I've had problems with HDMI cables slipping out. Here in a studio where the cameras are fixed and they're not panning around, I don't have teenagers or 20-somethings that are using them and abusing them, then I don't feel quite so bad. I can just plug them in HDMI and they stay, and I don't have to worry about them coming loose. So I think when I can save enough shekels, I think I'd like to get the Magewell HDMI version of this same card. Same kind of basic specs, 1080p, 60 frames a second. And at 1080p, the SDI cable can go 100 meters. Now, it's just like coax cable. It's not anything fancy. And if you go 1080i, you can go 200 meters. So you've got the beautiful ability to go long distance on this thing, which I love a lot. Looking at my notes here, it's a PCIe card. Fits in that 4-frame, that X4 slot, and only uses 8 watts of electricity, so it's pretty low power in terms of what it's asking your PC to do. And I think that's also going to translate into lower heat. So if you're in a studio environment where heat is an issue, you'll probably want to give this card a look. As a new Magewell dealer, I was all excited, like, man, we're going to put this stuff on sale. Well, Magewell has some pretty strict rules about that. The prices that you advertise have to be their manufacturer's suggested retail price. But you know me, I've decided, and we'll announce exactly what they are next week. But I think if you're interested in some of these cards, what I think we're going to do is we're going to make some bundles. And so we're going to take a Magewell card and bundle it with something else, and we'll be able to sell it at a discount because we're going to discount the something else. Got it? So the Magewell card will sell for retail, but the something else will sell for less than retail. So if you've got some ideas what something else is you'd like to see, maybe vMix software. Maybe VidBlaster software. We can do some bundles, so that'll be cool. So that's what we've got coming up on the sales side, to bundle some stuff. And if you're thinking, the idea of the bundle would be if you've got a great PC you're using for other use, you want to convert it over to use for streaming, and you haven't really decided either on your capture card or on your software. If we put them together as a bundle, now you've got a card and software that I know work well together, and I'm not going to sell anything that I don't know works well. So that's the and this card, it's pretty easy to configure. We kind of configured it on the fly in the intermission at one point, and able to go in and change some camera settings, and the card, picked it up right away. Oh, excuse me. Oh, had a late night last night playing with this card. So it's a lot of fun. The card retails 4-port high definition video, retails for $8.99, and this would probably be in comparison to the Blackmagic Decklink Quad, which is 4 ports of high definition SDI. I think that runs about $1,100, $1,200 US, something like that. I mean, the Quad has got a benefit is that it's got 8 ports, 4 outputs, 4 inputs, so you can mirror your you can mirror the inputs to the outputs if you wanted to send the 4 cameras into one PC and then those 4 cameras out somewhere else if you were doing instant replay with them or something like that. So there is a bonus to the Blackmagic there. But if you're just taking 4 cameras in, the Magewell looks like it's going to be a good card. The Kona was a 4-port capture card, SDI, higher end, probably broadcast quality. Came with a lot of accessories. Came with all the SDI cables, for example. So that was pretty cool. But and both the Kona card and the Blackmagic card use that little mini SDI connector. The Magewell card is using the full size BNC connector, so you don't have to buy special cables or a special adapter in order to make it work. And I think the Kona card is like $19.95, something like that. So it's definitely on the higher end of this. And the whole Magewell line, I think, has the thought that we're going to give you a great value and some great features. And so that's, I think, going to really help Magewell make its name. Magewell is available from easternshorebroadcasting.com, as is vMix and VidBlaster and Tally Lights. And we're trying to put together the whole package so you can really go one-stop shop. The one thing that I'll say before this sounds like a giant commercial is my concept is that I'm bringing you this show, Streaming Idiots, and the VidBlaster Guy show in order to help you do what it is you want to do. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to pass them on to you and hopefully keep you from making some of the same mistakes. And what people are constantly asking me is, where can I get this? Where can I get that? And I say, okay, well, here's a way for me, number one, to fill the need, And number two, we'll make a few bucks off of it, which is a good deal for us too. So that's kind of been the thought behind it. I got an email from somebody yesterday that said, what about a PC? What do I need to do in a PC? Well, soon, like the end of this month, the 1st of September, we're going to be bringing to market some off-the-shelf PCs designed for streaming. You can go to Best Buy or wherever you want to and buy a PC. You can hook up with Dell online and buy a PC, and it'll be a good PC, but it won't be designed for streaming. You're going to have to modify it by adding capture cards and other kinds of tweaks. In fact, some motherboards don't work with some capture cards, and you can find that out the hard way. Or you can get from us a off-the-shelf PC, pre-built, ready to go, that all you have to do is plug in your camera, plug in your internet, plug in your monitor, plug in your mouse, plug in your keyboard, and you're ready to go streaming. Everything else is built in and ready to go and works well because it was designed to work together. It's not something else that was kind of what would be the word, repurposed repurposed after the fact. So that'll be coming up too. The next project that we're working on, which will be coming up soon, will be the church streaming roundtable. Alan Bunt, you remember from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church up in Wisconsin, will be working with me. We'll be co-hosting the church streaming roundtable. And so if you're thinking about church streaming, if you want to know more about it, we're going to bring together some experts in the field and then sit around and talk church streaming. And we'll have a lot of fun with that, and we'll announce a date just as soon as we've got it. If you're in the church streaming field and would like to be considered to be on that show, just drop me a note, tom@streamingidiots.com, and Al and I will talk to you and be happy to consider you. What else? Golly gee, there was just so much cool stuff going on. We got the tally lights, we got the vMix 16 pre-release, we got the Magewell cards, we got the Magewell card that we're reviewing, we got the bundles of Magewell and other stuff, we got the church streaming PC, we got the other stuff back here that we're going to review for you. So it's going to be a busy little end to the summer and a busy little beginning to the fall. Let's see, what else? What have I forgotten? I know there was something else. Oh well, it'll come to me after the show's over. That's generally the case. Let's see. Here's somebody in the chat room saying he thinks that this card, the Magewell card that we're using right now, has got better video quality than the AJA card that we were using last week. Hush your mouth. Oh my goodness. Don't let the guys at AJA hear that. They'll be ticked. Their card's 3 times as much. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't have to mention it, but I did. Oh, anyway. What else? There was something I was going to share with you. Oh, I know. Also, and I don't do this very often, but coming up, in fact, it's been over a year since I've done it. Coming up soon, and I'm not sure when soon is, but coming up soon, I'm going to do I know when soon is. Soon is after I clean up, and you'll understand that in just a second. I want to do a studio tour, and I need some input from you on the studio tour. My studio is here in the studio. We've got all these great monitors behind us. You can see that. And I want to show you what the studio looks like and show you the equipment that I'm using, cameras and mics and mixers and cables and, PCs and the whole 9 yards. Lighting and the desk setup, all this stuff. But I'm not sure how it's best to do that. Whether it's best for me to videotape something, to record on video something, or to try to take a live camera and move it all around. the nice thing about recording it in advance and then just playing it during the show is that I can take it around smoothly. I can cut it from shot to shot so that I don't have to just move a camera around the whole time and it jiggles all over the place. But it loses the ability to be live. I can't stop if there's a question in the chat room and say, oh, okay, well, let's talk a little bit more about this particular device. Or go back and have a second look. Tom, show me again how you've got things connected to the back of your PC. So there's the downside to having it pre-recorded like that. So I'd love to get some feedback from you guys. Hey, Jean, glad to have you. Didn't see you slip in. I'd love to get some feedback from you, whether you would like to see it live and have the ability to ask questions and see things again, or have it recorded. I've already gotten some votes here in the chat, so that's good. It's good to have that. Let's see what else. Question of the 6C SD input Magewell card is no longer available. Yes, it is still available. It is a PCIe 6-port standard definition input from Magewell, and they actually make the same thing in a USB 3 box. And I think I've got one of those coming in soon. Not on the Magewell site. Well, then Magewell is going through a product cycle right now. And they're calling all of the current stuff that's out there Gen 1 for Generation 1. And Gen 2 is coming to the market kind of, a little bit here and a little bit there. So it may be that this 6-port capture device from Magewell is going to be sent out to the farm. I don't know. If that's the case, man, I may go out and buy one, just put on the shelf, because you never know when you need something like that. So some of the equipment that I've asked Magewell to send to me for evaluation, I know is Gen 1. The USB dongles and boxes, I think, are all still Gen 1s, whereas I think the PCIe cards, they're moving into Gen 2. And we'll make that real clear when we do our reviews. For example, the Magewell card today, the XI 400DE SDI card is Gen 1. And that doesn't mean that Gen 2 is going to make Gen 1 stuff stop working. It just means that they've made some improvements to it that are worthy enough to change the designation. A question from the chat room: do you leave the sides of your computer off while using it as a test bed? I leave the sides of my computer off almost all the time, regardless. Because I guess I'm always using it as a test bed. I'm always plugging in something or unplugging something or swapping out something or stealing a part out of it to go fix another computer. So yes, I generally do leave the sides off. And I think it probably runs a little cooler as a result. And here's a question for me that I don't know the answer to, so I'm not going to share it with you. Sorry about that. Anyway, no, it just said, did you notice any difference in the USB dongle Gen 1 and Gen 2? And no, I haven't seen either one of them, so I don't know. Well, I think, folks, that brings us to the end of the show. Lots of good stuff coming up in terms of reviews, products, and software, and all sorts of other ideas for shows. If I can answer a question for you, fire me an email, tom@streamingidiots.com. If you are interested in any of these products, we're going to be adding them to our website, easternshorebroadcasting.com, so you can go there and take a look. And if you're doing something cool and you just want me to mention it here on the show, send me a note, send me a video. I'd be delighted to take a look at it and give you a little plug. So, with no further ado, by the way, everybody that's in the chat room is welcome to hang around. Charles has got donuts and coffee for everybody. So we'll be enjoying that at the conclusion of the show. And if you're watching us on YouTube and you made it all the way through to the end of the show, you may as well subscribe because you made it to the end of the show. That'll be your bonus. And you'll miss out on the coffee and donuts, so you'll just have to come watch us live. We're live on Wednesday afternoons, 3 o'clock Eastern in the U.S., 8 o'clock in the United Kingdom, except when it's the swap time between British summertime and Central and Daylight Savings Time in the U.S. Anyway, you'll figure it out. Thanks for watching. I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy on one show and the Streaming Idiot on another show, and I'm delighted to be with you today, and I hope to see you again sometime soon. Take care.